Islanders have got to be tired. I wonder when Tampa Bay made it to Edmonton, right? I don't know when that happened, but I assume that it was long before the Islanders did because they
Yeah.
knew that that's where they were going. There was some talk that if the Islanders series went quick, they could have one of the games on the other bubble, but that obviously didn't happen with the going
Right.
seven. So I wonder if jet lag and them being more adjusted to Edmonton could have helped them versus the Islanders that obviously had to play just a couple of days ago in a different
Right.
bubble, and
You just don't know. I mean, it's like, and then you think, okay, well, then are the Islanders riding off a adrenaline high, and they feel great, and everything is like everything is going to work in their favor. Tampa Bay's had a week off, so then they get a chance to rest. So it's like you just don't know, which is why the playoffs are so exciting.
yeah, for sure. Brian, do you have any thoughts on the Tampa Bay Boston
Hey,
series?
Brian.
Hey, Anna. Yeah, I thought this was, I was a little surprised that they wrapped it up so easily. Tampa Bay is a great team, even without Stamkos, like you said. So, I've really been impressed with what they've done so far. I'd say of the two teams, if I had to pick two teams left in the playoffs that I've been most impressed by, it's probably Vegas and Tampa Bay. I mean, I know Vegas got taken to 7 games in their last series, but they've looked like the two strongest teams, honestly. I think that's where we could be heading towards a cup final matchup, honestly. But, yeah, Tampa's a great team. I'm not too surprised the Bruins didn't go too far, honestly. When they lost Tuca, I thought that was a huge loss for them. And I know Halak is good, but asking him to be as good as Tuukka Rask is a big ask for sure. And
Right.
it was just never going to happen, I think, for them. So I'm not too surprised Tampa Bay won, especially how easily they did it.
For sure. I'll go to Carol. What are some of your thoughts on Tampa Bay so easily dispatching of Boston?
Well, we talked about how offensively and defensively skilled they are as long as they're playing their game. I'm not really too surprised about what they can do offensively. We see now they are 3-1 in the first period against the Islanders, who's been playing some stifling defense of their own to get to the conference finals. And this team is talented. They're hungry. We talked about the window that they had, winning the President's Trophy 2 years in a row and not making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. So I wasn't really shocked by it. And like you mentioned with Rask going out, I feel like, Boston, it was a Cinderella story that basically, bubble got bursted by a team that was more talented and,
Okay.
were hungry to, get to that next level because they know they have the potential. They know they haven't put it together. Like we talked about with the old Capitals teams before they won the cup. The potential was there. The scoring was there. They actually had better defense than the Capitals had before they got the cup. But yeah, I wasn't really surprised by the outcome of that game.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I definitely think Tampa Bay is the best team, but I was really impressed with the Islanders and their run to get here, especially going through a tough team. A lot of us in this panel thought that Philadelphia was the best team coming out of sort of that round robin weird situation
Yeah.
that started this just a couple of weeks ago. It seems like a long time ago in some ways now, but. Yeah, so Anna, talk about this series a little bit. I know you were kind of rooting a little bit for Philadelphia. What are some of your thoughts on how that series went down and them almost coming back?
Yeah, that was one of those. That was a hard statement to make, but I was okay with it. But like we said, so when we started off the show last week, we had going into the series a lot of 3-1, and thought, okay, are any of these games to go to Game 7? And how awesome was this last week? I have to say. So Game 5, you do have the Flyers win in overtime in a 4-3, um, which I think that was starting to show the fans and everybody, like, this is who that number 1 seed is. Like, this is who they are, and they have it in them, so don't count them out. Game 6 for me was a little like heartwarming when you have Oscar Lindblom come out on the ice and both teams acknowledging and stick taps and everything for him returning was just made it a really fantastic game, and they win in double overtime 5-4, and so now they're tied. But I don't know what happened Game 7. It just really went from like, all right, this is going to be amazing, to 4-0 shutout. they just collapsed. And that kind of breaks my heart a little bit. But you know what? When you have an Islanders team with a lineup with a Brock Nelson, who I still think sounds like a porn name, but whatever, Barzal, Beauvillier, Pajot. I mean, like, you have all these great names, and then all of a sudden you have a players on the other side where everyone's rooting for Oscar Lindblom, and then you have a Claude Giroux. So I feel like it was, it was like a good matchup overall. I was really surprised that the Flyers were shut out. I was hoping for a little bit more, but I will say Barry Trotz, uber class act, in the interview after the game, talking about Oscar, talking about his overcoming cancer and everything that he's done, and acknowledging the Flyers team. It was genuine. And so, you have to love a Trotz classy moment like that.
Sounds good. Brian, what are some of your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, great series. Another one that was 3-1 and then went to 7. I wasn't particularly rooting for either team because I don't really like either team. But, I have to give Barry Trotz a lot of credit for one move in particular. In Game 7, he switched his goalie from Varlamov to Thomas Greiss, which couldn't have been an easy decision. Varlamov played really well in the Capitals series, as you guys remember, and played really well in their games the Islanders won. So definitely not an easy decision. It's kind of like, if you make him switch and he wins, that's amazing. But, what if you make the switch and you lose? You're left wondering, would Varlamov have won the game? Luckily, it ended up being a great decision for Barry Trotz. He deserves all the credit in the world for making that switch. Thomas Greiss was great in Game 7. Yeah. And I have to, even as a Rangers fan, I have to give credit to the Islanders. First time in the conference finals since 1993. That was the longest conference finals drought in the NHL. I mean, what a long time to go without being in the conference finals for such a storied team that won 4 Stanley Cups in the 80s. They're the best sports team in New York right now, so good for them for all the success that they've had. I don't know if it's going to continue against Tampa Bay, but they definitely deserve credit for beating the Caps. They definitely deserve credit for beating Philly. I'm sorry, but you know
Damn
what
you,
I mean.
Brian.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. But I'm just saying, like, it's been a great season for the Islanders. They have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, for sure. Carol, what are some of your thoughts on it?
Well, like I said, I'm rooting for the Islanders to win it all just for the Barry Trotz factor. I know Anna doesn't like the Clutterbuck factor, but unfortunately, I got to put Trotz over Clutterbuck. But they're
anything over Clutterbuck.
So when they're playing their game, like we saw it with the Capitals when Trotz was here. When they're locked in and playing their style of hockey, it's very hard to beat them, especially when they get a lead. And their defense and their speed and youth and tenacity right now isn't paying off, being down 3-1. But we've seen this team. We mentioned in the Philly series when they were down 3-0 after the first period and were able to force overtime. They still took the loss, but we know this team is a resilient bunch, and I don't think this game is over. I think this is going to be a good series. I think it could go 7. I'm thinking the Islanders and Tampa Bay, just because of the talent and the want and the way these two teams are going to go at it. But the Islanders, it was kind of a, I'm not going to say shock, but Philly was playing some great hockey also, and to see the Islanders be able to come in there and close it out in that fashion, just makes me feel a little bit better about my prediction and think hopefully the Islanders can take the whole thing for my man Barry Trotz.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay is going to win it in 6, but I think it's going to be a good series, right? So I think that the Islanders will win 2 in there. I think Barry Trotz is a good enough coach, but I just think that Tampa Bay, they're just too good at least on paper. Like they've got so much skill, and I do wonder if I'm curious if Stamkos made this bubble, right? That'd be an interesting thing to know. I haven't seen anything about it yet. I don't know anything, whether or not he could even play in a future game, or if he could play in a Stanley Cup final game if he made it that far. Those are things that I wish that they would disclose, but I have not seen anything, I'll be honest. I was curious.
As far as I know, he's out for this series for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So,
we'll see what that means going forward. Yeah, it's really interesting because I didn't think that Tampa Bay would be this good without him, but they are. And but the Islanders play this suffocating defense. I think that that's really what happened in that Game 7 against Philadelphia. Philadelphia just sort of saw what Barry Trotz can do, and he attacks you with this sort of style, and he does it 3 games in a row, and you might be able to beat him twice. But the likelihood of you doing that 3 times to that defense, it's hard, as they saw.
It is. And I 100% agree with you, and I think that it is what the Islanders have in their favor is that they close out games, and they play their 60 minutes, and then they play OT if they need to. Like, there's no stopping. So he's been fantastic. But there is something about that third line that I've become kind of a favorite of Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow, and they've just been dominant on the Tampa Bay end of things. So it's like I kind of would like to see. I want to, it's a good balance. There isn't like one that we're going in, it's a shoe-in. I think it's going to be. I see a Game 7, but I do think it's going to be Tampa Bay.
Right, Brian. What was your thought on how do you think the series will go?
Yeah, I'm thinking Tampa Bay in either 6 or 7. Like you guys have said, I think this is a good matchup for sure. But Tampa Bay is just overall the stronger team. It's been a great run by the Islanders. You have to remember they had to play a play-in series against Florida to even get to this point. So they've technically already played 3 series already. So they've got to be tired. Plus, they've just made the jump to Edmonton already. So I don't know. They could just be tired at this point. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay in the series.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if it's kind of like what happened with the LA series, where LA had like a long break, and it was just a weird timing situation where, like, I'd be curious if in a Game 2, because I do think that this game is going to go Tampa Bay's way. I think they might come back and make it a little close, but I do think it will go Tampa Bay's way. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Islanders come back and win Game 2. So I'm not, and I just, yeah, it could be, right. I just think that eventually Tampa Bay is just going to be the better team and it's going to, win out. But we'll see. Just because we talked about last week, I like that sort of the building the pedigree that Tampa Bay 2 years ago could have won them last year. And, it's been gunning for a long time. But, Barry Trotz's defense is pretty tough. But it's also tough to win 3 times in a row, as been seen. All these games got pushed to 7. But as we saw, in the Stars game, series, for example, they were up, then lost 2 games in a row, but eventually lost. And the same thing happened in the Vegas one, right? So it's really hard to win 3 in a row in that sort of situation, do or die. I was impressed that all these series were able to win 2, but let's talk about them for a second. That Stars against Colorado series. Anna, what were some of your thoughts on that?
I was really, really pulling for the Avalanche on this one. I don't know. I felt like it has nothing to do with Burakovsky. Carol and I are on that right there. If
Grubauer showed up again, though. He showed up again.
Best clutch player in the league.
Disgustingly amount, like really freaking good. I know. I was like, but I think he just needed to leave the Caps, start fresh, and show his skill, whatever. But I will say, watching Game 5, to see the Avalanche come back 6-3 was such great momentum. It was just like, okay, here we go. You have 2 injured goalies, and you put in Michael Hutchinson, and he has kicked ass in this series. And you're a third string, and it's like you have Burakovsky scoring twice, you have McKenna scoring, like you have all of your players that you want to see scoring and doing exactly what they're supposed to do, and then good goaltending. So I was ready for this series to kind of go the Avalanche way, but that's okay.
An exciting one though. Overtime.
Oh my God.
I mean, and just to have 3 different goal scorers have 2 goals going into overtime, and the question marks of could one of those 3 do it and finish the hat trick and end a spectacular Game 7, and then it happens, and and it hasn't happened since Wayne Gretzky did it, so it's just like, wow, what a way for that series to end. Carol, what are some of your thoughts?
Pretty much that summed it up. I didn't get a chance to keep a close eye on this one, but I know that I did see that the guy that had the rookie that had the hat trick was the first NHL first rookie to get a hat trick in a game 7. So you know all the analytics they got. So I didn't get a chance to really pay close attention in this series, but I know Anna was rooting for Vancouver, but unfortunately it didn't go their way, and I just think that the experience of the Golden Knights, even though they're only 3 years in existence, just the combined experience from all the players that they have, is what gave them the determining factor against this young, hungry team that pushed them to Game 7.
Yeah, Anna, what were some of your thoughts on that Golden Knights series?
Oh, some of my thoughts. I hate. So are we not? We're not going to talk about Avalanche anymore. We're going to move on to the Canucks Knights.
Sure. I think unless there's something else that you specifically wanted to talk about.
To me, it was kind of the tale of two cities with both of them. The experience of the other team just won out. So that's why I kind of did the segue to that one.
Yeah. And but honestly, the rookie with the hat trick, you kind of can't help but just love the player. I mean, it's like in the regular season, 11 games, he had like 1 goal, no assists, or 1 assist, no goal, whatever it was. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he gets a hat trick and he wins overtime for the start. It's just like, that's the kind of stuff that you absolutely love to hear about. But as for Vancouver and the Knights, wow, can we just give hats off to Thatcher Demko? I mean, you can't not acknowledge what a fantastic goalie. 43 saves in Game 5. I don't know. Like, I'm so torn because, like, I shouldn't say I'm torn. I don't want Vegas to continue. We all know that. But I will say that
well documented.
and I kept it PC. Come on now. But I will say there's something I have a soft spot and an admiration for their goalie, not Fleury. Now I've heard it said Lerner. Yeah, it's like all these different. But God, he's just he has really, really impressed me. And I will say, kind of in a non-hockey platform, he's been very open about the mental health aspect of things. I think he has bipolar, and he's been very open about it. And I kind of appreciate the fact that he's bringing that to a platform that some of these players are like, okay, hey, we can't talk about this. But he has been absolutely fantastic. And I know when they put Fleury in last night, I wasn't surprised because, I mean, God, Robin needed a break after what he did. But I wasn't impressed with Fleury. I don't know, he just didn't seem to be that stellar goalie that we were so used to. But anyways, I know I got off topic with talking about last night's game. I know. I feel like I'm like all over the place right now.
No, you're fine. I guess we gotta get into that series anyway. So I mean, it's not a bad segue. I just I was bummed. Obviously, we were all rooting against the Golden Knights just because I thought I liked the story of Vancouver, but Vancouver plays some not great hockey at times either. So I don't know how exciting that would have been. Like Golden Knights versus Stars does have glitz and glamour to it. It's sort of like. I was surprised, sort of segueing into that game, how low-scoring it was, knowing how high-powered both of those offenses are. But it also shows how great, both of the goaltenders are. In addition to that, so I mean, I mean, even though Fleury didn't have a great game, I mean, he only let in 1 goal, right? Wasn't it 1-0?
Yeah,
it was.
1-0.
But there's something that he just seemed off for some reason. Just watching him, like certain things that. Like a shot that should have been a little bit more, I guess easier for him didn't seem as easy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not saying that, he's obviously has a record of outstanding, statistics and everything else when it comes to especially playing in playoffs and things like that. So I understand why he's there, but
And to come in after the agent and all those issues that we talked about earlier in the playoffs.
So
I'm impressed that all that circus that I thought would doom them really didn't. I'm happy they lost the one game that Ryan Reeves sat a suspension out for. I know, Anna, you thought that it should be more. I agree. I mean, the hit for other players may not have been deemed more than one game, but he's got a history. And I think that just because of all the Black Lives Matter stuff, he got a pass this time. And I hate to say that, but I really feel that way because his hit and his double standard and him going for the head. If it was Tom Wilson, he would have gotten 5 games. Like,
he would have been out for the series.
Bullshit. And I'm like, he has a history of doing shit like this. And they were like, oh, 1 game. I'm like, it's not a 1 game. He went up and threw the guy. Is it just not 3 games this playoffs? Because I mean, it seems like they're giving a less harsh penalty for the bubble playoffs than they have in previous years. If we're going to try to compare the same hit across years and years past. So I don't know what the deal is. I thought he should have gotten 3 games, just like anybody else that levels that exact same hit. I know that Golden Knights fans are like, oh, it's just a regular hockey hit. I'm like, well, I disagree. But I mean, if they're trying to take headhunting out of the game, then you got to give that 3 games every time.
Well, and my biggest argument, and there's been a lot of social media arguments with myself and other hockey fans out there when it comes to Ryan Reeves, I will say that what frustrated me the most was like, okay, 1 game should have been 3 because he's a repeat offender. This isn't as if like, oh, this happened and he hasn't done this in 6 months. He did this in the postseason. It's like, give me a flipping break. Like, a couple weeks, same thing, and there was nothing. And so, like, it's just infuriating. And he leads the NHL in hits. It's like, come on, that record has to speak volumes. And I think that's what happened with Tommy was, they looked at his record, they looked at his penalty minutes, they looked at everything else, and they finally said, okay, enough's enough, and you're out.
Yeah, Carol, what do you?
It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, Carol, what
say you?
I didn't even like I said, I've been in baseball world and doing some other stuff, so I didn't even see the hit that you guys are talking about. But I know he's a definite repeat offender. He, just like they say about Tommy, that he pushes the line. Well, I say he pushes the line. They say he's a dirty player. I consider Ryan Reeves a dirtier player than Tom Wilson, and I don't know about the Black Lives Matter having anything to do with the suspension or whatever it is, but I mean, like you say, if he's headhunting and hitting people in the head, he deserves the 3-game suspension. Like I said, I didn't see the hit or see most of that series, but it is a head scratcher. Like you said, if it was Tom Wilson, it would have been 3, 5, maybe thrown out for the rest of the playoffs because of his so-called reputation. But normally hockey does a good job with consistency. It may be something with the bubble, I don't know, but yeah, consistency is the key. If you're trying to take a headhunting out of the game, just like they're doing in football, that's good. You have to penalize these players properly. And from the way you guys are describing this hit, it sounds like it should have been a 3-game suspension. And I'm not sure why it wasn't.
Yeah. I don't know, Brian, were you able to see any of that hit?
No, I didn't. But Ryan Reeves, his reputation is well known around the league, so I can only imagine. I can only imagine what it was like, and I agree. I even though I'm not a Caps fan, I do agree. Ryan Reeves is a dirtier player than Tom Wilson.
All right, I like that. There you go.
I mean, I'm not saying Tom Wilson's clean, but I'm saying that
we'll take it.
Yeah,
all right.
Stop talking.
Yeah, we'll take that because I don't see Tom as dirty at all. I see him, maybe pushing the envelope, but some of his hits in his early career, leaving his feet, okay, I can get that. That's not really dirty in my mind, but to me, there's never really been any things where he's gone out there intentionally trying to hurt somebody.
And I'll put it this way: in this hit, I don't think he was intentionally trying to hurt him. But the thing was, he still skated through him, leveled his shoulder up and through the head.
Yeah.
And so the guy. Went off, it's all the same protocols, and that's why I just don't understand the consistency. And I would say across the board, they haven't given very long suspensions during this bubble playoffs. So that was where I'm speaking to. It's like that seemed to have gone out the window. Everyone seems to be getting 1 or 2. I haven't heard of any 3-game suspensions, but we obviously in previous years have had them.
It might be something to do with the COVID in the bubble. So you might be right. You might be onto something there, Robbie.
Yeah,
so it'll be interesting. They never spoke on it. They just don't really give much of an explanation. They gave even less of an explanation than they usually do on this one. So, it leaves us head scratching. But hopefully Vegas just gets swept, and then it doesn't matter, and then they just
What's that?
Yeah,
they go away.
Right, they go away. That solves that problem.
I can't root for Dallas, man. I can't root for Dallas. I'm sorry.
I know. I struggled out with. We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
3 games in a row going to and losing to them. For me, they're like the hockey Cowboys, right? They have everything from Dallas. They have a star. Like they're just green versus blue. But like I don't, for me, it's like one and the same. I'm sure the fans are the same. So.
But I feel like the rookie who got the hat trick, and I'm sure I would butcher his name if I even tried to say it, but he's the reason why I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna pull for Dallas, and I've always liked Tyler Seguin. He doesn't bother me. I think he is a player that has a ton of skill, and Jamie Benn, like, there's a couple of Stars players I'm not completely happy with, but I think that this little story, I will take that versus
Vegas getting back to the finals. Yeah, so it's pretty much
just Vegas in general.
Right. So I'm with you. Rooting against Vegas whenever that happens at this point. So
I mean, there is the George McPhee factor also. As much as turmoil he had here and not being able to put a winner together, I'm not ready for him to get a ring yet.
Yeah, and Smiley and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm not like, I don't hate them like I hate the Penguins or any of a lot of the division rivals. I know Anna definitely does, but I will still for fun root against them. And I have a lot of family that lives in Texas, and it's like one of the very few Texas teams I could probably root for at this point. So, so I will get behind that. Brian, are you going to watch that West series? Do you have a rooting interest in it?
I don't have a rooting interest necessarily. I'll probably watch a little bit of it if there's if there's NBA, if there's no NBA or anything on, or if like NBA is a blowout or something, and then Western Conference Finals is going on. I'll probably check it out. But
last resort.
Yeah, it's not high on my viewing priority.
It's like 7. You got soccer, you got Yankees.
It's up there. So it's on that list somewhere.
Right, it's on a sports list.
Yeah,
so that's good. That's funny. Would you probably more likely watch the Tampa Bay Islanders?
Yes, I'm going to be keeping it close tabs on that series because I want to see how the New York team does. So even if it's not my team, I want to see how the New York team does in this series. So I'll be keeping a close tab for sure on the Islanders series.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I will mention that the basketball game is over. It ended up still being a bit of a blowout with Boston winning 111-89 over Toronto. So they take a 3-2 lead, and they'll probably close it out in 6. But we'll see if it takes them 7. Because so far, like, the home team has lost every game, I believe. So this game is supposedly a Boston home game, even though we all know that it means nothing in basketball other than the color of the electronic scoreboards behind everything and the different virtual fans that are being piped through, which I still love. I wish that hockey could have found a way to do that. But, but I don't know what hockey fans would do on virtual Zoom screens, throughout the arena. So,
What are you trying to say?
I don't know.
Are you guys watching the Eastern Conference game now? Because we just had an interesting play just happen that gives Tampa a 4-1 lead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tampa was coming down with an odd man rush. I'm not sure what the player was, but he went to the right of the net. Varlamov scooted to the right, and he did a little hook move with the space between Varlamov's skate and the net. Varlamov eventually he stopped it at the beginning, but the ricochet had went into the net, and Islander player had smacked it out, but they went to replay and looked at it at the next stoppage of play and saw that the puck did actually cross the line. So now Tampa's up 4-1 over it. Because I thought it was a great save that Varlamov made if it didn't score because he was so far out of position.
Yeah.
But looking back, looking at the replay now, it was a great play by Tampa. So Tampa might be making a statement this first game.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I think we've sort of broken down all of the different hockey series and how we've got here. I'll give each one of you guys kind of a final thoughts, and then we'll sort of wrap up this podcast. Brian, I'll let you give your final thoughts first, since you've been on for this entire wonderful show. I know you didn't have much during Washington football talk, but you've been here for watching the whole thing. Any final thoughts from you? And thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no, just thank you for having me. Looking forward to next week, and hopefully, for me personally, hopefully the Yankees start playing better than they played the last couple of weeks. That's not been pretty, so hopefully they turn things around. They're off to a good start tonight. They're up 6-2.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Who are they playing?
The Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. All right, Anna.
Yeah, no problem.
I know that you guys aren't really reporting shows. I know that Gil did put something up with his goalie or his coach thoughts, right? His
Thoughts,
coach,
yeah.
it's coach thoughts. So you can probably catch that on our if you go to SportsOTHP.com, click PowerPlay Point podcast. You can listen to Gil's thoughts on that. Did you have any additional thoughts on the Caps coaching situation? I know they've interviewed some of those big names that we had been talking about.
I know. Probably why I wasn't on Gil's show is because he's so much more knowledgeable about all of that. I wasn't pulling for Babcock, but we'll see what happens. I think at this point they're going to definitely be looking for that veteran coach who obviously has a little more fire in him than Todd Reardon did. So at this point, I guess it's a win-win regardless of whomever they choose.
I think any of those three big names that we've been talking about would have that fire, and they've been there, and they've proved it in the past. Been consistent playoff winners, and have that pedigree to be there for cups. And
Agreed.
I don't think honestly. I think they'll probably go right with any of the three. Hopefully, we just got to get the bottom six shored up and try to figure out how to stay under this. Very tight cap window that we've got, and stuff like that. But any final thoughts and anything you want to shout out before we let you go?
Pulling for the Stars and pulling for Tampa Bay. I think it'll be good. I think it's fun hockey. And then when I look at the schedule, I'm like, it's like every night this week. So there's a game at 8:00. So that's awesome. So yeah, I start school tomorrow. We'll see how this whole Fairfax County 2021 virtual school year kicks off, but we're prepared better than we were back in April.
And I'm happy to hear that. I know I work for a school as well, and it's a tough time. We started back last week. We did a virtual welcome, and they've been doing virtual classes, and it's very weird because usually I'm there filming all the ceremonies and making all these videos, and here I am like cutting virtual footage together, and we're putting backgrounds, and it's just a very different world that we live in.
It is. It's crazy, and you know that I'm not a computer person whatsoever, so I had to do a virtual Google Classroom, and was absolutely amazed when someone sent me this Bitmoji classroom. There's 137 slides or something I could look through on how to design my classroom with a bookshelf and a coffee mug or this or that. I'm fascinated by the people who could do that, but so I set up something very generic, but I'm okay with it, and I'm like, at least the avatar looks like me, I think. So
nice.
We'll see.
You have to offline. You have to send me a screenshot. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely check it out. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Anna, as always, and we'll have you on back next week to talk about these conference finals.
Absolutely, and take care. See you, Robbie. Bye, Carol.
All right, and have a good night. Appreciate it as always.
You.
All right, sounds good.
Oh boy,
All right.
full show, Robbie. Full show. We got it all in. About 2 hours and 15 minutes. I had a couple of technical issues on my side. If you're just watching my YouTube feed, I started it back up for the hockey. If you're watching on Periscope, it stayed going. I like that new Periscope feed. It gives me a little bit of flexibility. But to give the final score, the Nats were able to win tonight against Tampa Bay 6-1. Max Scherzer went 7 innings, earning his fourth win of the season. He didn't give up any runs. It was a late run they gave up from the bullpen. I didn't really look at the box score or anything, but at least the Nats have won 3 out of 4. Try to be optimistic. Like we said, they want to go on a hell of a hot streak to get back into the wild card playoff race. But it ain't over till it's over. We saw how bad they were, and last year at a certain point in the season it improved. So we can always still hope and wish, even though it's a far-fetched hope. But hey, we can always hope that they can get a chance to defend their title this year.
And just root for them every game we've got. They could have just not had a season. So even if we only get 60 games this year, let's just enjoy 60 games of baseball, because going to be a bit until we get some more. So, it's I'm happy just to have it on. Even if it's right now, I'm watching a basketball and hockey playoffs, but it's been awesome to be able to flip it and just to be able to show Zach as he gets older, baseball. He's so into baseball right now, and so it's just I'm happy that win or lose that I can at least show him a little bit more of that.
No doubt, no doubt. It is good to have some sports after going that 4-month law without any sports whatsoever. So yeah, I can't be too upset. Like I said, they're not playing the best ball and not getting the consistent pitching. They had some injuries and yada yada yada. But at least we're able to watch some baseball, and they've been pretty safe with the corona stuff. We had the Juan Soto earlier this season, but ever since then it's been pretty clean. I haven't heard of any mass incidents like we saw with Miami and a couple of other teams, I believe with the Cardinals. So apparently some of the protocols that they put in place has helped the situation. We still give kudos to the NBA for doing their thing, and they're still coming up clean. We spoke about football at the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour, so that's still going to see how that's going to pan out with all the physical contact and everything. And I forgot to mention during our football talk that the league and the NFLPA are going to continue doing daily tests on every day except for game day, and to continue to try to make sure everyone stays safe. They agreed on that last week. And hold on, I think it was something else I was supposed to mention. Where my clipboard go?
Right.
Let's see. Quick segment quick little asterisk for the Washington football team. Landon Collins will be wearing number 26 now, and Jimmy Moreland will be wearing number 20. If you know, for Landon Collins wore 20 last year, and when he was with the Giants, but he gave his jersey number up to Jimmy Moreland. He'll be wearing 26 this year. So that was something I was supposed to mention in our football talk, but we had such a great segment where Hurt and Dugenet, I forgot to even mention it. But
Real quickly before we go, I do want to ask you one quick question. So I wanted to get on the record all of our record for the Washington football team. I was not there for that segment. So Hurt said, how many wins did he say?
Yeah, Hurt said 9. Dugenet said 7 with the possibility of 9. He saw the window of Hurt, but he said 7. I'm gonna play it safe and go 8-8, 500.
Nice. I'm going with 5 wins. I know that's not very optimistic, but I just think that there's going to be a lot of recovery. But we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get 10.
Hey, it's going to be a crazy season with the COVID, no preseason, and new scheme. You got Haskins as the number 1 starter. He's coming in, has something to prove and build off of. At the ending of last season, we well documented his last 7 games as starting quarterback. He definitely showed improvement. We saw him, answer all the questions and all the challenges that Ron Rivera sent him, to get in better shape, film study. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, you should, because he has a lot of good content on there. And they actually showed a segment when he was mic'd up and he made a bad throw that turned into a turnover for the defense in practice. And you saw him going to the DB, asking what he saw, going to the wide receiver, seeing what he saw, and then finally getting a critique from the quarterback's coach, and he absorbed it all in. There was no, pouting. There was no, ill will. There wasn't angry at, for them telling him the stuff, but he's eager to learn. So that's definitely a good sign. And with the, preseason not happening and offenses trying to learn, I think that they're going to, with them being a pass on the backfield heavy team with Scott Turner's offense, and I think that's going to play to the advantage of them. And the defense is definitely going to be a strong suit, especially, like I said, with the stalemate or the lull you're going to have from the offense with them not having preseason. So if they can get off to a good start, and you never know what's the possibility, but I'll stick with it on the safe side and go with 8-8 myself.
Yeah, you convinced me. I'll go with 6.
All right, I got Robbie to go at 1 game, so that in a 10-minute span, that's a huge move for Robbie to go at 1 game, because he's normally set in his ways. But it's definitely going to be interesting. Sunday I'll be doing on a part of a video shoot, so there probably won't be a pre-game. Hopefully I should be done enough to get a post game. I'm gonna be. Did he? Oh, it looked like the Islanders almost scored on that power play. Looked like it hit the crossbar. Yeah. But I'll definitely should be available for the post game. If not, we'll just break it all down on Monday night. If we can get Dugenet and Big Hurt, then no big deal. And I'll keep you posted on the pregame at Martini's and see if that's still locked. Then I have to get with them. They had some difficulties with Phase 3 in PG County not opening up when they they say that Maryland will be going to Phase 3. Unfortunately, PG County is one of the counties that will not be going. So things are a little bit up in the air on that end, but you can catch the pregame and postgame show live. I'll be streaming it, especially when I get out of Facebook jail. That's another story. But we're going to have the best sports coverage around. DC Sports Without the Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. Make sure you check out SportsOTHP.com. If you want the SportsOTHP apparel shirts, hit me up, inbox me. If you want the District of Champion shirt and a pillow like Robbie got in his shot, go to the website, SportsOTHP.com. Click on the apparel link and go ahead and order yours and help support the movement. Got to give a quick shout out before I get out of here to Eric Kusa. Got to shout y'all out before. Pardon if I did before, but you got to rock the, got some good quality apparel. Make sure you check them out there on IG also at ericusa.us. So check them out. Stay tuned for so much more. We got so much coming. Football season starting. We got hockey playoffs. We got basketball playoffs. And, unfortunately, we might have baseball playoffs, but the Nationals might not be in it. But going to keep our fingers crossed and see what they can do, if they can salvage this season and maybe get another late season push and maybe get some more postseason magic. But, Robbie, you got any parting shots before we get out of here?
Sure. I'll do my my parting shout-outs. We were on a podcast last week. You can check my page out if you want to see anything more about that with Guitarra. So shout-outs to them. Shout-outs to everybody that was on tonight's show. We had a busy show. We actually had a 6-person NBA roundtable for the playoffs. So it might be the largest we've ever had, especially on video. So shout-outs to all the guys for coming through, and it's been a really exciting NBA playoffs. We'll definitely, I think, keep about the same times next week. I liked how the show flowed. Start off with some baseball, do some NBA talk. We'll talk about how the Washington football team did against the Eagles, and then we'll get into some conference finals, NHL talk to end the show. It seemed to flow really nice tonight. I liked it. But shout-outs to Anna and Brian for coming on for Hockey Talk, and Dujanet and Big Hurt for joining us for that wonderful football talk segment. And, I'm excited, and hopefully I'll even be able to join you if we are able to do a post-game show, maybe for a little bit. I may mute myself at times if Zach's being a little too crazy, but hopefully we'll have a win, and if we win, I will definitely more likely want to be on if that is possible. So, that's we'll put it up that way.
Sounds good. Like I said, I'll be out of Facebook jail in 15 days, so gotta hold off until I can start getting my rock and roll on Facebook again. But like I said, you can follow me on Periscope, Carol Porter III, 3 eyes. Same thing on YouTube, Carol Porter III with 3 eyes. Stay tuned for so much more. DC Sports Without the Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. And we out. See you next week.